Hello 102ers and welcome to the last week of the first half of the class. After this one, it's all going to be moving downhill pretty quickly. Are you ready for that? October is in full swing and we're almost at the halfway point. Reading days are coming up and the days are getting shorter. For some of you, the lack of sunlight is really doing a number on your motivation. For others, like me, the cooler and the darker weather is a glorious thing. Whatever your direction, make sure you work hard. You've made it this far. Don't fizzle out yet. So as we're here, let's go take a look at the announcement for the week. Once again, the video is going to look different because obviously I'm not done filming it yet. But we have our usual introduction here. We have what we did last week, what we're doing this week. You know, a plea for you to actually watch the video. It's not going to be a short one this week, guys. Sorry. Here's what is coming up in the semester. This one's not going to be for many weeks yet, but we're going to touch on it today. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things to read. We have 2 videos inside one. And then the assignments that are due. You have 2 assignments, and we have 3 attachments. So make sure that you go through those announcements and figure out exactly what's what. But let's go back here and head right over to the masterclass schedule and take a look at what everything looks like. We click and scroll down to week 7. There it is. And we can see that we're starting Unit 3 this week. It means a bit more reading than usual, but it's building up your base and your theory behind what's coming. So we have 5 items to review and 2 assignments to complete, including the very important Unit 2 essay. Because I have a feeling this will be a rather long video, and I, again, am sorry about that, let's just get started. So, in what is an argumentative research paper, we start talking about, hey, the argumentative research document. So this is the biggie, folks. It's going to be by far worth the most points of anything this semester, and the first 2 papers will build towards this. It's not due for a while, week 14, but it's good to start thinking about this now. Once again, the details you need are here, including this cute little picture. I really still do not find any point in this because honestly, it doesn't do anything. But down here we have this research paper sample, which is nice. You can go through it, bits and pieces. It'll at least explain a few things. Download a copy of the sample paper if you'd like. But once again, I have a different copy, which I'm going to show you in just a second. And the requirements are right here in one quick and easy place. However, I'd like to show you the document that I've been using for a while that colleagues put together, and I think it's fantastic. It's a one-stop shop. Unit 3 Argumentative Research Paper, Directions and Sample. Gives you an overview. Tells you here that we need 7 authoritative sources, a minimum of 3 claims. And then down here it shows us, okay, 7 to 8 pages, not including title page and references page. You need to find 3 additional sources. You found 2 in Unit 1, you found 2 in Unit 2, and you find 3 more here, and let's practice math here. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7, and there it is. You will need a minimum of 7 total sources for the overall paper, but you've already found 4 of them, so 3 new sources. It's going to be APA formatted again, double-spaced throughout. For some reason, some of you have a problem with this. Times New Roman or Calibri 12-point font, correctly formatted title page, page numbers in the upper right-hand corner of the page, repeated title on page 2, headings, in-text citations, and references page. We're going to go over what the sample looks like in probably 2 minutes. The minimum requirements for the source integration, which means you're going to use CSET just like you did, okay? Claim, setup, evidence, tie-in. Make sure you follow that. If you need to, go back to that color-coded paragraph that I gave you on corporal punishment or spanking, and you can see how it goes together. The structure matches the sample provided, which is going to be down here in 2 pages. Only use third-person point of view. He, she, it, they, them, Jonathan, Sarah, Dr. Jones, whatever, okay? Avoid first person. No, I, me, my, our, we, us. because honestly, unless you're the primary researcher, I don't care. You've heard me say this before, I'll say it again. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you feel. I don't care what you believe. I care what you can prove. So, because you necessarily aren't proving anything, you're using other people's materials, cite them instead of you. And of course, do not use second person, no yous or yours, okay? You will see here that we have our introduction, and I'm going to go over this a little bit more in detail towards the due date. But we have our introduction, which is going to be a single paragraph. It's probably going to be roughly, I'd say, a half to 2/3 of a page. You have your background, which is a minimum of 1 paragraph. It's where you are telling your reader everything they need to know to understand your topic, your thesis, your overall argument, okay? There's a few questions in here that you can look at. Then you're going to give me your argument. 3 reasons why your argument is strong. 3 claims. Each of those claims can have multiple setups, multiple pieces of evidence, and multiple tie-ins, but you need a minimum of 3 claims. Sometimes you might put 4 or 5 or 6 claims in there, and that's fine too. Then we're going to have a minimum of 2 paragraphs in the counter-argument and rebuttal. Truthfully, I think you're probably going to have at least 3. You'll have 2 counter-argument points, and then you're going to have a rebuttal, kind of proving why the counter-arguments are not as strong as your overall argument. Okay, so that's all in there. I told you up here the introduction is going to be half to 2/3 of a page. The background is probably going to be, I would say, 2/3 to 3/4 of a page, maybe a full page. Your argument itself, the C-set, will probably be 2 or 3 pages. Counter argument will probably be about 1.5 pages, and then your conclusion is probably going to be about a half page. And of course, the conclusion ties everything up. So this is what goes into this paper coming up, so you know what's coming. And then here is the sample starting on page 3. As you can see, we have the page number up in the upper right-hand corner. Your title in bold, a skipped line, your name, the department, and the school. The class that you are doing this for. My name goes here. And the due date, okay? That's all that's going to be on this page. As you can see, there's nothing else here, okay? Then we go down and we take the title and we type it in again or copy and paste it. In bold, and we have our introduction, and then we have our headers. Background, and here is the background section. See, 2 paragraphs, roughly a full page. We have our first claim, claim 1, long and short-term outcomes, okay, for this specific topic. We have a paragraph that lasts roughly 3/4 of a page. We have another claim here that lasts roughly 3/4 of a page. We have another claim that lasts roughly 2/3 of a page. Oh my. And then we have a 4th claim, which is just about a half to 2/3 of a page. Altogether, we're talking 3 pages or so. Counter argument, we have 2 paragraphs, which are roughly about a page and a quarter. And then our rebuttal, which is about 2 paragraphs and about a full page. So, I mean, if you do this right and you put detail in here, you're going to have no problem reaching the 7 to 8 pages when you're done. Finally, the conclusion, which is about a half a page, okay? Then, please note, there's nothing else on that page after you finish your conclusion. And then we start a new page for the references. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sources. Here's a good rule of thumb. For every page you have in your paper, you should have at least that many sources. So if you're writing a 10-page paper, you should have 10 sources, okay? So, we're going to go over this again as the assignment comes in, but I wanted you to be able to see it. Again, it's attached to your announcement. All right, so now that we're back and through that, let's talk about what we know about classical argument. So we click on this page, and honestly, it's a really terrible page because it's only giving you a link to 2 YouTube videos. Let me try to explain it. I mean, I would recommend watching the videos, but an argument is not just 2 or more people, or creatures here, because there's a mummy and there's Scooby, yelling at each other, hitting each other, spitting at each other. An argument is multiple perspectives on a single topic. It is also required to show support for each side, or else we're looking at a simple assertion which becomes more of an understanding of your opinion than really anything else. And honestly, if you do have two people yelling at each other, that's probably what you think of when you hear the word argument. I'm right, you're wrong. No, I'm right, you're wrong. There's the finger pointing, the yelling, the spitting. It's not good. That's what most people picture. But the argument itself features a few key elements that you need to know. An argument always begins with a thesis, the statement that can be proven true or false. Once the thesis is stated, then the person stating the thesis has to prove that thesis. It's not just a matter of saying, this is what I believe, so disprove me. I've already said it once in this video. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you feel. I don't care what you believe. I care what you can prove. So, when they say, this is what I believe, disprove me, that's actually a logical fallacy known as the burden of proof. Remember those movies and TV shows that you watch where scenes took place in the courtroom? The prosecutor has to prove their point. They cannot just state an idea and hope everyone else agrees. Same thing here. Once you state your thesis, you provide solid evidence. See, they're burying him in evidence. That's the whole point of this GIF here, okay? So you provide solid evidence to break down the thesis into smaller claims that you can use to prove your entire idea. You'll need at least 3 smaller claims to show how your side of the argument is the stronger side. Once you develop your side, you must be open to the prospect that your opponent, or the other side of the argument if you don't want to view this as an adversarial thing, has to have at least 1 or 2 good points of their own. So the counter-argument will be their opportunity to illustrate the opposing side to your thesis. Since you will not be team writing this paper, you will have to do both your argument and the counter-argument, which means you must be fair and complete with the opposing side. Additionally, you have to support the opposing side, which means showing how, in some cases, your side might be a bit weak. Once you go through the counter-argument, then you provide the rebuttal. This is where you show your reader how the counter-argument, while possibly having a couple of good points, is nowhere near strong enough to overwhelm your original argument. This is where you can show the reader, these good points. But honestly, if your counter-argument is stronger than your argument, you may want to rethink your original approach. Overall, the basics of an argument are pretty similar all throughout the world, and even through the last, millennia. We have really not thought about changing how arguments are done because it's worked so well since a few hundred years BC. Okay? That's when it was formalized. Anyway, the next one we're going to talk about is the qualities of a good research question. Boom. There we go. It's probably one of my favorite pages made for this class because I don't really have any issues with it. In order to move forward with our paper, we need to have a solid direction for our research, which begins with our research question. So how do we create it? By looking at this page. You can look at it more in depth, but I want you to remember that a good question is not opinion, and a good question can actually be answered using solid research. Okay? And I lost my place. There we go. If it cannot be answered, then it could not be a good topic to begin with. Once you think of it that way, you can actually guide through the process knowing that you have a solid base. A research question can be answered in an objective way through research, which means no matter what, that research question should have some source material to back it up. Okay, we ask, is it morally wrong? Well, you know what? Morals are different for a lot of people. So you need to kind of drill down a little bit further. A good research question cannot be answered using existing information, or can be answered using existing information or collective information. You can't say, eventually it's going to be proven that we're not alone in the universe. Well, guess what? It may not be, or it might not be proven for thousands of years. So you kind of need information that's going to really exist in your lifetime, if not now. A good research question hasn't already been answered, or it hasn't been answered completely. It hasn't been answered for your specific context. Is smoking bad for you? We know that. We've known that for decades and decades. That's not a good research question. That's already been proven. You're basically trying to prove something that's already been proven. It's a waste of time. Okay? So, let's go back and check out the research questions and search term tips. Alright, so clicking on that, we get here. And honestly, it's an easy step to move from your research questions to the claims that prove your argument. It's not simply one or two words. There are a few shifts in thinking to worry about as well. So look through this page and see the examples given, as I've found that it's much easier to do this than to explain this. Don't get me wrong. I can explain this, but without me kind of doing it in real time with you on the board or on a smart board or whatever, it gets really confusing just me talking in circles. Once you start putting your own questions in the positions and the samples here, you will actually be able to see how things start to shift in your own mind. Keywords start to make lists down here about how things go. We've already tackled EBSCOhost before, so here's a way to kind of look at the subject terms to help you. SIRS has the same basic principles, okay? So that's all there as well. Going back, there we go. We finish up with thesis statements, writing, and importance. So, this is a general overview of everything that you've ever heard about thesis statements over the course of your English language education. If I were you, I'd focus on the divorce topic here, and even the job topic here, because they're both pretty okay. The drug education one here is not awful, but it's a little bit vague. It's not necessarily the strongest thesis. And whoever wrote this one here, the Shakespeare's use of dramatic irony, really wanted you to think that they were smart, but it's wrong. Number one, factually. And number two, it's a terrible thesis statement. So stick with this one and this one to kind of see how things go. But remember, your thesis statement needs two parts to it. It needs a claim and it needs evidence, okay? Your thesis statement should distill your ideas into one or two sentences. What I mean by that is a thesis statement should be concise. If you have a very long paper, 30, 40, 50, 100 pages, you know what? You can have a multiple sentence thesis statement. No problem. I'll agree to that. If you have a short paper, 2 to 3 pages, 3 to 4, 4 to 6, 7 to 8, single sentence, please. Because honestly, your paper is not long enough to support a multi-sentence thesis statement. You're trying to add way too much in there, so keep it concise. The thesis statement needs to be concise so it can guide your reader to your argument. It needs to be complete, okay? It needs to direct it very, very clearly. It also needs to organize and develop your essay based on your perspective. So a lot of people like to say their claim, kind of provide their evidence, and then break it down into 3 blueprint ideas. You know, the best way to teach students is to have them memorize, have them apply, and then have them create. Okay, great. We have our 3 points here. So then you know that in my paper, I'm going to talk about memorization. I'm going to talk about application. And I'm going to talk about creation. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope so. So what makes it effective? Well, like I said, it focuses and unifies the entire essay. It is the tip of the pyramid. Everything underneath supports that thesis statement. And a good thesis statement must be supportable and specific. We've already said all of this a few times. Just make sure that your thesis has 2 parts to it. Claim and evidence. And that's pretty much it. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, we have 2 assignments, the Unit 2 paper and the Unit 3 building research questions. So, let's take a look at the Unit 2 paper real quick. As you can see here, it's going to be 4 to 6 pages. Anything less than that, and I mean 4 full pages, not that you ended somewhere on the 4th page towards the top. It's got to be 4 full pages, so kind of Run through the tape. Try to finish in the 5th page. You're going to be comparing the perspectives of 2 different authors. Remember this. You're talking about your 2 sources. We're going to be using that synthesis question in the introduction. If you do not have a question in that introduction to finish the introduction, you will not do well on this paper. You're going to be talking about all this. Just remember, you've got a sample that's attached to the announcement, Unit 2, and you've already done the graphical organizer this past week, as well as the comparing perspectives organizer. If you use all of that together, you should be in great shape. Introductory paragraph must be a synthesis question ending it. We have a background paragraph, which illustrates the 2 authors and articles. Then we go into the comparing perspectives section, which is going to be argument point number 1 in one paragraph, argument point number 2 in the next paragraph. 2 paragraphs minimum. If you give me one smashed together paragraph, you're going to get some bad points. The exploratory synthesis is probably my biggest need for this paper. I want to see how you are thinking. So put all this information together and explain how the 2 articles kind of show the sides of the argument, okay? And then the conclusion, just kind of tie everything together, and you're also going to use this synthesis question in the introduction to answer it and create the thesis statement closing out your conclusion, okay? Again, 4 to 6 pages, 3rd person, do not use 2nd person. For the exploratory synthesis, this part here, you may use 1st person. That's it. All right? Excellent. Finally, we have the Unit 3 Building Research questions and reasons. So once you go in here, you'll see that they've got a sample response, but honestly, do not do it like this. Use the template that you can click here or here to get. What does it look like? Ta-da! Here it is. Once again, type in your general topic here. So if you're doing a paper on birth control, great. And then give me your thesis question. What is the overall portion of the argument? Then, what are some research questions you asked? Present a minimum of 4 research questions that you asked as you were doing research on your topic. What is birth control? How long has birth control been around? Are there any negative side effects to birth control? Why is it illegal now? Okay, those are 4 research questions. Great. What is the tentative position on your topic? Tentative means it can change. So right now, if you're saying, oh, everybody should have access to birth control, there's your position. But you know what? As you do research, you might change your mind. Or you might say no one should have access to it, and as you do your research, you might change your mind. Reasons for your support. I believe my position, my side of the argument, is strong because, and I want 4 reasons here. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. So give me 4 reasons why. And don't just say, because I'm right. Because it's immoral. No. I want to see actual reasons, okay? And then finally, we're going to talk about our audience. How do you believe most of your audience feels about your topic? Now, granted, the person reading these documents is me. So I am your audience to start. However, the end of the semester, you're going to be giving an oral presentation via video that everybody could possibly watch. Okay? So your audience is the entire class. So how do you believe that most of the class feels about this topic? What do you believe that most people think about your topic, if they think about it at all? Because sometimes they might not have any feelings about it. They might not have any ideas about it. What knowledge do you believe that your audience possesses in relation to your topic? What do they already know or not know? And what knowledge do you believe that your audience will need to grasp the fundamentals of your topic? Basically, nobody likes to feel stupid. So what information can you give them so they understand what you're talking about? Good? Once you're done that, submit it, and everything's perfect, okay? The big part of the assignments this week is your paper, but this one's necessary as well. And that's it, kiddos. I know it was a long one. It's just under 25 minutes, but it's a new unit, and it had a lot of material, so hopefully, if you have any questions, you'll reach out to me early in the week. Until then, good luck, and have a great rest of your week. See ya.